Carmen Get It, definitely. And, well, there's a Carmen in the studio here tonight. It's Carmen Capobianco, who's joining us on the second episode of the Online Movie Show. I'm Phil Hall, and at the bottom of the hour, we're going to be joined by Debbie Rochon.
Yes, sir.
She's going to be phoning in from Canada to talk about Model Hunger, which is a movie that you two worked on.
Mm-hmm.
But she was behind the camera in this one, and you were in front of the camera.
I was.
What's it like being directed by Debbie Rochon?
What's it like being directed by Debbie Rochon? All right, you want the real answer, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Because there were a lot of fantasies going through my head, as you probably... Debbie is, as you know, and we've talked about this, probably one of the absolute most wonderful, sweetest people that ever walked the face of the earth. And I met her for the first time in the early 90s when she was a kid just starting out. And little did I know that she was a fan of Galactic Gigolo a long time ago through a movie I was in the 80s. So I met her in 93 when she had just released Santa Claus, John Rousseau's movie, Santa Claus, and CLAWS. And then I met her again. And I kept meeting her. We kept taking pictures. I have all these pictures of us aging gracefully together, she more than I. And then I had said to her at one point, because Tommy Seymour, you probably know, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
We were in, I don't know how many movies together, you and I. We had never had a scene together.
We've done 5 movies together, and we've never actually met. The first time we met was when you came here to PPRN a few weeks ago to do a show, Peter Pinot's Talk Show on Tuesday nights.
Yes. And it was a pleasure meeting you after all these years. And the same thing was going on with Debbie. We had done a few movies together, and I never had a scene with her. Bikini Bloodbath and VHS Massacre was another one. And we did a couple of James Balsamo films that we had done together. And I keep telling James, I want a scene with Debbie. And he keeps saying, yeah, okay. So anyway, I was at a convention, Monstermania in New Jersey, and she was there. And there were a couple of people. Do you know Mike? You must know Mike Watt and Amy Lynn Best.
Oh, Mike Watt very well, yes.
Yeah. Mike is wonderful. I've known Mike for years. In fact, he coerced Tommy into getting an interview with me because Tommy sent him a copy of one of his movies. It might have been Everything Moves Alone, or it might have been Prophets, or whatever. No, I think it was one of his early ones. And Mike's read the credits. And he said, "Oh my God, Carmen Capobianco's in this movie." And he was huge, and I'm very flattered to say that he was a huge fan of mine. So he said to Tommy, "If you give me a contact number for Carmen so I can interview him, I will review your movie." So way back then, I interviewed with Mike. It was a really great time. And over the years, we went in contact with each other. We became friends who never met, just like my thousands of friends on Facebook who I've never met. But I respect it, just like I respect your work. I mean, you're a great writer. Mike's a great writer. And so when I heard that he was going to be in New Jersey, because he lives in Pittsburgh, I said, I'm going to drive down there because Mike is there and Amy is there and Debbie's there and all these people are there. So I drove down, and after the whole thing was over, Debbie came outside. We were waiting after the convention, and she was there, Mike was there, and Amy was there. And I turned to Debbie, and I still don't think she knew who I was. And I said, Debbie, we've been in X amount of films together. We never had a scene. Would you do a scene with me now? And she looked at me, and she most graciously said, yeah, okay. So I gave Mike my camera. He directed it, and we just goofed around. And you can see that scene on my Facebook page of Debbie and I just totally goofing around. But I originally thought she knew me when Tommy was making, what was the first movie he did with Debbie? Was it Bikini Bloodbath?
The first one he did with Debbie was Bikini Bloodbath, yes.
Okay. So he says to me, "Hey, Carmen, you'll never guess who I got to be in this movie." And I said, "Who?" He said, "Debbie Rochon." I said, "Oh, man, I would love to meet her again." Because, when you first meet Debbie, you instantly fall in love with her.
Oh, definitely.
And so then he told me later on, he said, "Debbie's not doing the movie." I said, "Why?" He goes, "I don't know. She didn't contact me." So I ran into her at a convention, and I said, "Debbie, what's going on? You okay? Tommy's waiting for you to do the movie." And she said, "I got into this. I was doing this movie."
I know actually it was supposed to be Land of College Profit. She was supposed to be in the film. I know where the story's going, but you can tell us.
Right.
Yeah.
So I said to Debbie, what happened? She said, "I was doing this movie, and a guy was supposed to come after me with a machete, and they held up my hand to catch the machete, and he never changed it for the prop machete, and it was a real machete, and she showed me the scars in her hand, and then she had a a magazine cover of her hand all stitched up and everything. So she said, that's why I didn't want to call Tommy. I said, you know what? Let's, do the movie, take a picture with me, hold up the magazine, and I sent it to Tommy and everything got ironed over, and she ended up doing it. And then I also didn't get to do a scene with her. So, but years have passed, and we've been in, and I said, I don't think she remembers me from anybody. I say hi, and she goes, oh, hi, because she's like that with everybody. She's so sweet to everybody. And then all of a sudden, and I have to thank Richard Griffin. You know Richard Griffin, right?
Yes, he does. Very talented filmmaker out of Rhode Island.
Yes, and I'm on Facebook with Richard. I'm talking to somebody, and my name pops up, and Richard sees me, and he says, "Are you the Carmen Capobianco that was in Psychos in Love and Galactic Gigolo?" And I said, "Yes." And then Debbie pops on, and she goes, "You were in Galactic Gigolo?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "That was like my favorite movie from the '80s." I'm like, "Oh my God!" I just lost all respect for Debbie just for a second. And then 2 weeks later, she offered me Model Hunger. And I'm just wondering, I said, we've known each other since 93, and she never, in 93, I kind of looked like I looked in the movie, but in, 2013, I look like an old guy now. So,
it's funny, too, because you obviously have a very good reputation in the industry, because as I mentioned prior to starting the show last week, we had Michael Mangelo on our program.
Michael. Yeah, Michael's great.
And I mentioned your name, and he just burst into a big smile. And we've had conversations here in the studio about when people get a bad reputation and problems follow them, and it doesn't go away very easily. And it certainly happens in the movie world. I know many people, very prominent people too, who haven't been able to get decent work, even though they're extremely talented, because of their reputation.
That's very true. That's very true. I've met a lot of actors and directors over the years, and believe it or not, the nicest people are in the horror business.
Yes.
And I find that weird, that you would think that these are horrible people, but they're not. They're very sweet people. But as long as you go in, you do your job, and you are nice to people, you keep a good reputation. My thing is I'm not an actor. I can't memorize lines. But I do, and people say, "Hey, that was you," and that's totally false. I'm not an actor. I do comedy, and there's a difference. You're still acting, but my kind of comedy is the great kind of comedy where it's you're not there to be funny. You're there to make people laugh, and you don't need to be funny to make people, or think you're being funny, or try to be funny. You make people laugh by. Have you seen Psychos in Love? We did that seriously. You know what I mean? And it was the situations and everything that made it a funny movie. And then you get people who overact and do these dumb things, and you're like, he's really pushing it. He's overdoing it. And that's not what you want to do. So when I was going to do Model Hunger, I said, well, she saw Galactic Gigolo, Debbie, and so she probably wants me to be the comedy relief, because that's my rep. Carmen, he's a funny guy. He does these funny movies. So I go up there, and I'm all set. I'm reading these lines. She goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm reading the line." She says, "No, let me tell you about Sal." Sal was the guy I played in the movie. And she gives me this backstory on Sal, and it's depressing, and it's horrible, and it's dark. And I'm like, what? And she said, yes, this is a serious role here. And she had to keep telling me, stop being funny. That was her thing. I'm like, okay. So she worked with me. And being that most of my lines were with Tiffany, who in and of herself is a wonderful actress. I've seen her do so many different things.
Tiffany's last name is?
Oh, sorry, Tiffany Shepis.
Okay.
Which, she's in her early 30s, and I'm in my late 50s, and there was somebody else cast to play my wife, and I was all excited because she's a wonderful, beautiful actress, and then I guess she didn't do it anymore, and then Debbie sent me an email. She said, Tiffany Shepis is going to play your wife. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh my God. And I was scared shitless of Tiffany Shepis because she had a rep of being this tough woman. And I've seen her at conventions, and she's all tough and sarcastic and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh my God, Tiffany Shepis. And she said, can I ask you if you would, dye your hair? And I'm like, sure, I'll dye my hair. And I picked the worst color. If you see the movie, you're like, what were you thinking? And so I 7:00 in the morning of the day we were going to shoot, I got to meet Tiffany Shepis. She brought her daughter, and Tiffany is so freaking sweet and wonderful. She's a great mom and totally off. I guess her chiller theater persona is totally different from her real personality. She is just a wonderful human being, and she let me borrow her daughter to take out for ice cream because I was a week away from my son, who was about 5 at the time. So I said, listen, I got this hole I need filled. So she let me take her daughter Mia out to ice cream and shopping and stuff like that. So I love Tiff and Lynn Lowry. I mean, I've done a lot of great things in my life. I've done a lot of fun things in my life. I've done a lot of incredible things in my life that people just don't believe. And I say, yeah, I did that. And they're like, yeah, you're so full of crap, Carmen. I'm like,
well, you just said a few minutes ago that you're not an actor, yet outside of doing stuff like Galactic Gigolo or Psychos in Love, you've also been on One Life to Live.
I didn't have to do much acting. I had no lines. And basically I was, when Tina was in prison, it was believe it or not, it was a co-ed prison. So they gave me a prisoner uniform, and they said, just do this, and just do this, and just do this. And then one of the cameramen was a friend of mine, and he says, let me see if I can get you a line. I said, oh, that'd be great. So we went up to the director, and he goes, yeah, we'll get him a line. And then it fell through. I didn't get a line. But, that wasn't acting. That was just walking. And I'm good at that. I don't fall down a whole hell of a lot.
Well, you're good at writing, too, because I think you wrote, was it Galactic Gigolo or Psychos in Love, or both?
I co-wrote Galactic Gigolo, Psychos in Love, Cemetery High, and then a whole bunch of other scripts that Gorman Bechard and I haven't made. But I'm a writer. Well,
your cult films from the 80s, Psychos in Love, Galactic Gigolo, were they shown in theaters or were these straight-to-video films? What was the distribution of those?
Cemetery High was actually shown on USA Up All Night with Rhonda Shearer and Gilbert Gottfried. Mm-hmm. And Galactic Gigolo played the theater on a double bill around the country with Sorority Babes and the Slimeball Bolorama.
Well, that did get a release.
It did.
Yeah.
But we shot that in 35, which was incredible to do that. And Psychos in Love played midnight shows at the Bleecker Street Cinema.
Wow.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Bleecker Street Cinema was one of the more prestigious art house venues in New York City for many years. I think it closed down in the late 80s or the early 90s.
Maybe a little while after that.
A little after that, yeah. This was still when they had the midnight movie circuit, because that disappeared by the 90s when home video came in.
Yeah, Psychos in Love showed there. The guy was so into showing it, ran to the theater. He wanted to release the theme song on a 45 to give it out at the midnight showings, which he never did. And and we went to a couple of them, and people were a lot of mixed reviews. I don't know. You've seen?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean it's not for everybody, but those that love it really truly love it.
It's a true midnight movie, and there really aren't those kind of films anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't know, what did you intend that film to go to the midnight circuit, or were you thinking this could play in the neighborhood theaters during the middle of the day?
We had done one film before that, Disconnected. Then we did a second film we shot on video, which I told you is one that I'm so happy never got released. And then we did Psychos in Love, just in the hopes of getting it to go to video. And when it played at the Bleecker Street, that was just a wonderful thing. We were very happy with that. And then it went to video, or maybe it was already on video. But we had no idea what had happened between 1989 until the internet got big. Because once we started getting on the internet, Psychos in Love was a worldwide phenomenon, and I had no idea. I've got fans all over the world who send me emails and fan letters and stuff, and I'm like, really? And then people quote the film.
Isn't it a huge hit in Germany?
It was a huge hit in Germany to the extent that a DVD company in Germany got bombarded with letters from the Germans saying, we want Psychos in Love on DVD. And this was before, when DVD was young. And they got in touch with Gorman, and Gorman gave them a blessing. And there was only 300 of the German ones that came to America. And all the rest, it sold like crazy. Then they re-released it, and then other countries hopped on board. And then finally, a few years ago, the United States hopped on board, and we got it released in the United States. But it was released all over the world. And I've got literally fans that I became friends with on Facebook, and I'm close to, even though I never met them, but they're just wonderful people. And man, they quote the shit out of that film, and I just can't believe it.
Isn't that scary when somebody comes up to you and starts quoting one of your films, and you sort of forgot the dialogue? And that happened to me one time because we were both in Bikini Bloodbath, though we didn't have a scene together. And I had met somebody.
That's kind of our catchphrase
and
now.
Someone came up to me and started quoting my character's dialogue back to me in the voice that I used for that film. I didn't use my natural speaking voice. And my initial reaction is, what is wrong with this poor man? And then he looked at me and said, don't you remember this? And I said, what are you doing? And he had to explain that he was doing me, and I didn't even recognize it.
Yeah. So, well, one of the weirdest things was Broome Street Theater in Madison, Wisconsin, which is owned by the director of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Reanimator, Stuart Gordon. And the guy there asked Gorman for the rights to turn Psychos in Love into a play, a musical. Well, it was partly musical, and Gorman gave him the rights. And I didn't get to see it. I was in Hollywood at the time with my daughter on a vacation in Hollywood. And I asked the guy, I said, would it be any way that you have a video copy of this play? And he goes, sure. And he sent me a copy. This is actually a scene from the play on the U.S. DVD, but he sent me the whole thing, and I watched it, and he took some artistic license with it. Some of it not so good, but some of it pretty good. And to see someone do, a lot of Psychos in Love, Gorman and I wrote, and then sometimes he would let me go, and say, all right, do this, and then I would just ad lib, and he said, yeah, do that when we film, and then when we film, I would do something completely different. And he was like, oh my God, but he would keep it. So to see this actor who played me in the play do those lines that were just throwaway lines to me that just weren't in the script. It was just amazing. And he was me, and there was a girl playing Debbie, and a guy playing Frank, and it was just like I was just so beside myself. I was just overly flattered that, oh my God, these people loved it enough to turn it into a play, and it played to packed houses. And one woman was such a fan; she found out it was a play. She flew from Boston to Madison just to see the play. I'm like, wow, it's just incredible. So I have to ask Debbie if she ever saw that movie because, Galactic Gigolo, yeah, okay, that was all right.
Well, Galactic Gigolo was filmed is in Prospect, Connecticut, which is one town over from where we are now.
Right. It was filmed, believe it or not, in Cheshire and Waterbury. The only thing I think we actually filmed in Prospect was when I was pointing to the Prospect sign. But did you know it got banned in Prospect?
No, I wasn't aware of that.
Yes, it was banned in Prospect.
Is there a movie theater in Prospect for it to be banned in?
No, when it came out, we had filmed a couple of scenes down at the Waterbury City Hall. And while filming there, I had to get permission. I was working for the city at the time, and I had to get permission from Mayor Santopietro to film there. He was mayor at the time. So I got permission. And of course, Gorman, when he was doing the credits, gave a thank you to the city of Waterbury and Mayor Santopietro for letting us use City Hall. Well, in Galactic Gigolo, one of the storylines is that I am a broccoli from outer space who wins a trip on a game show to go to Prospect, Connecticut, which is known as the horniest town in the galaxy. Why we used a real town, I don't know, but Prospect is just a perfect name because prospects. And we portrayed Prospect as a town full of Hasidic hillbillies and like very slow mafiosos, who weren't that smart. So when it got released on video, somebody in Prospect rented it from a video store, not mine, and brought it to the mayor and was very upset that we portrayed Prospect as such. And he said that he can't believe that the mayor of Waterbury let us use, and so they called me, the city, the mayor's office called me and said, do you happen to have a copy of Galactic Gigolo? I said, well, yeah. He says, can you bring it down to the mayor's office, please? I said, okay. So I brought it down to the mayor's office, and the city lawyer, he said, put it on. And put it on. He goes, all right, fast forward it. And I fast forward a little bit more. And then I can see a smile playing about his lips. Then he starts laughing at all this tomfoolery in the movie. So finally he says they can't do anything. Well, the next day in the paper, the Mayor Chatfield of Prospect asked them to pull it off the shelves, and it said banned in Prospect. So when I moved, I opened up a store. I used to have one down in Union City. I moved it to Prospect.
You had a video store.
Remember Fun Stuff Video?
Yes.
So I moved Fun Stuff Video from Union City up the street to up Route 68, right at the end of Route 68, and I made damn sure that I had several copies of Galactic Gigolo in my store so I can rent them to the Prospect people whenever I got a chance.
Is it still banned in Prospect, as far as you know?
They rented it, and no one came knocking at my door saying, we need you to pull that off the shelves, and if they did, I would say absolutely not.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking with Carmen Capobianco, who is going to be appearing in Model Hunger. Is this coming out on DVD this year? Do you know the...
Yes. It's coming out in July. We're having a huge autograph party at Planet Hollywood. Forbidden Planet in New York. And Debbie asked some of us to go, and I said I would love to go. And I'm hoping Debbie's going to be there. I know Susie Lorraine. You know Susie?
I don't know her personally.
Okay, I don't know her personally either, but I was in a movie with her. I never got a scene with her. Did you know Susie? You know that movie with Hugh Grant where he plays a 80s pop singer? I think it's called Music and Lyrics.
Yes.
Okay.
So.
Well, at the beginning of the movie, there's a music video where they sing "Pop Goes My Heart," and at the end of the video, Hugh Grant is laying on a table, and he's being tended to by this beautiful blonde nurse. That's Susie Lorraine.
Okay, you're going to have to hold that thought because we're going to take a 5-minute break to bring in some of our advertisers.
I'm done with it.
You're done with
I'm
it?
done with that thought, yeah.
Excellent. So give us 5 minutes. Say hi to our advertisers when the show is over, and we'll be back. Debbie Rochon's joining us at the bottom of the hour. It's the Online Movie Show on PPRN Radio.
Hi there, and if you need any kind of work done to your car, you can try DeSilva's Auto Body, located in Naugatuck at 275 Rubber Avenue. Serving the Naugatuck Valley community with the highest quality of craftsmanship for 25 years, we pride ourselves in delivering on our promise of extraordinary customer service and product satisfaction. We have recently expanded our business with in-house experts in industry gold standard equipment. So once again, give us a call at DeSilva's Auto Body, 203-729-5967. That's 203-729-5967, located in Naugatuck on Rubber Avenue. Once again, the Silva's Auto Body, 203-729-5967. Did you just hear how bad that sounded? Well, you won't get that sound at Hat City Music Productions, located at 536 Federal Road in Brookfield. CEO Chris Litwin takes your music to the next level. If you're tired of those basement recordings, those people that you pay too much money for and have you get out within a half hour, well, you won't have that problem. Hat City Music Productions, once again located at 536 Federal Road in Brookfield. Go check out Hat City Music Productions. You won't be disappointed. Tell them PPRN sent you. Aw, fuck!
Hey, dude, where did you get this freaking stellar water pipe?
At Shockinaw in Waterbury.
Where?
Shockinaw Smoke Shop in Waterbury. Dude, don't tell me you haven't been there.
I don't know.
Listen, you gotta go there. Shockinaw is way different from those crappy mall stores. They have some sick-ass glass pipes from crazy-ass glass blowers. And get this, they even have a community art gallery where they host drum circles, poetry jams, and they do music too.
Wow, no way.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, they have everything down there, even medical grade.
Dude, I'm down. Where is it?
I told you, it's in Waterbury on Huntington Avenue. Just get off exit 36 from Route 8. Here, I've been following them on Instagram for a while, Shockinaw Smoke Shop. Take a look at this picture.
Wow, man, that rig is ill.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, they're always posting new shit.
Dude, as soon as I get my car back, I'm heading to Shockinaw.
Hey, Matt, we need to write a commercial for Data Supply.
Okay, will it promote our grinders, bats, or the hand-carved dugouts?
Well, our one-hitters and our dugouts are already super popular.
Yeah, people can definitely see the quality difference.
Right, so we probably don't need to focus on those. But our premium grinder's brand new, so why don't we go with that?
Cool. What features should we hit on?
Well, it's a kick-ass grinder and getting rave reviews already, so we could use one of the testimonials saying it's the best grinder they've ever used.
Nah, that's cheesy. Let's stick to the features.
All right. So the key is really the sharp teeth.
And the holes?
And the number and the size of the holes.
Yeah, they let the herb fall through without getting jammed up in the chamber.
Right, because nobody likes the weed traffic jam going on.
There's also a Teflon ring that helps the lid slide easily.
And the super strong magnet in the lid.
And the pollen catcher.
We're never going to get through all this in 60 seconds.
Well, just ask them to follow us on Instagram and Facebook, or visit our website at www.greengoddesssupply.com.
Hi, I'm Phil Hall, and I have a question for you. Are you in need of professional video production service? If you are, I'd like to recommend my friends over at Mass Video Productions. They're based in Quincy, Massachusetts, but they do business all over the United States, and they do a great job. They specialize in corporate videos, whether it's communications from your CEO, employment recruitment, training videos for new employees. They can also help you if you need a video for television or an internet commercial. Maybe you need a music video for your band, or you want a video for a special event in your life. I'm not just saying this reading from a script. I use Mass Video Productions for my Business Superstar website, and I have been very, very impressed by the high quality of their production. If you don't believe me, look it up online. Go to massvidpro.com or call 617-319-3434. Again, massvidpro.com or 617-319-3434. And tell them Phil Hall sent you.
Are you located in the Middlebury area?
Or the Waterbury area.
Check out International Wine and Liquor at 750 Straits Turnpike, located next to the subway.
Or JT Wine and Liquor at 952 Chase Parkway, Waterbury, Connecticut, next to Spartans.
Both have a wide variety of beer, craft beer, scotches, bourbon, vodka, cognac, and rums.
And a large selection of wines.
Once again, if you're located in the Middlebury area, check out International Wine and Liquor, 750 Straits Turnpike, next to the subway.
Or if you're in the Waterbury area, check out JT Wine and Liquors at 952 Chase Parkway, Waterbury, Connecticut, next to Spartans.
And let them know that PBRN sent you.
Okay, we're back on the Online Movie Show. I'm Phil Hall. I have Carmen Capobianco in the studio with me. And who's that on the phone?
Well, this would be Debbie Rochon.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, please? Didn't quite get that.
This is Debbie Rochon.
Debbie
Can you hear
Rochon.
me?
Hello, Debbie. We had a little bit of an audio glitch here, so I didn't hear you. Hi, thanks for joining us. A bit early, but more time for you. That's great. What are you doing up in Canada?
Well, if I had to tell you, then it wouldn't be a secret.
One of those.
And, there's some things better left unsaid until they're ready to be exposed.
Ooh. Speaking of exposure, I had asked Carmen what it was like to be directed by you. What was it like for you to direct the legendary Carmen Capobianco in Model Hunger?
Oh, well, that's a dream come true because I've been a fan of the Galactic Gigolo since the 80s when I saw the movie.
Wow.
I love you, Debbie.
So,
Debbie.
I actually got the movie from, I was living, let me see, at that time on Court Street in Brooklyn. Oh, God. And there was a small mom and pop store. I had seen, as I was going through the entire store, all of the horror section, I came upon Galactic Gigolo, and of course I picked it up and watched it, and I had never seen anything like it. And I was floored, and I was like, this is hilarious. This is absolutely great. Good stuff, like really crazy, funny, northeastern, indie 80s film, which I was really into. I know that sounds weird, but I was really into that sort of humor and that style. I loved, before I knew Lloyd Kaufman himself, I saw The Toxic Avenger because I'd worked with someone who had played Toxie on something else, and, Slime City and all that kind of stuff, like all the Henenlotter movies. Frankenhooker was on the subways, the poster was on the subways, you would go down and all that, and I was a big fan of the whole scene, so I just thought, well, this is great stuff. And so finally, I met him eventually, And when the script came along via James Mogart, I was thinking to myself, one of the first things, the very first person I cast in my mind was Babette Bombshell to be one of the models. I thought that would be too good to be true, and that was, I hadn't even asked Babette yet, but I had that in my mind. And then I was like, this role of Sal is completely Carmine Capobianco, 100%. I mean, I could see Carmine doing this so well and so clearly, and I asked him, and I was lucky enough that he said yes.
Well, Carmine actually has said that he was a bit surprised because he's used to doing comedy roles, and this apparently isn't a comedy part. So do you see him as a dramatic actor, that there's a talent there that other filmmakers may have missed?
Yes, I do. I really do. And that's the thing. Like, he's such a comedian. He's so funny. He's everything you see him in. He's just he has the likability. And that was the key to the character of Sal, is that you had to like him, even though he may not know what's going on with his wife or see that clearly. This type of thing happens to so many of us, but the most important thing is if he was, if he's a little, I wouldn't even say clueless, but just blind to what's going on, that kind of helps the situation. But the most important thing is that he had to be incredibly likable character. And this is exactly the vibe that Carmen has. And, I only saw him in comedies. But I just knew that if I just kept reminding him, excuse me, throughout the shoot, hey, Carmine, hey, this is not a comedy.
Stop being funny.
He'd be fine, and that's all it was. Sometimes it's just you think you have to do more or be more, where it's really hard to just take something a step back and kind of just play it really simple. And that's exactly what he did, but he did it so easily when we worked together. Like, I would remind him, sure, but he did it, and it was fantastic, and the character is extremely likable.
Debbie?
And that's thanks just to his, charisma, his natural charisma.
Debbie, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Carmen.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. I thank you for all those nice things. I said about 30 minutes worth of nice things about you because I adore you. And we actually met in like 93, but you never knew I was the Galactic Gigolo back then, which was kind of weird. And it wasn't until 2013 that you 13 that you knew I was, which I thought was very cool. But have you watched Psychos in Love yet?
I haven't. How horrible is that?
That's horrible because that makes, in the world of comedy, Psychos in Love makes Galactic Gigolo look like Schindler's List. So you
But I promise you, I will. It's
and then
so
send me an
horrible
email.
how
some
things just kind of slip away.
Of
like
course,
you've got so many things to do, and there just isn't enough hours in a day.
I know,
but it's unforgivable. But
no, it's not.
I must see it because if then in fact Galactic Gigolo turns into Schindler's List, then I really have to see this.
Will you be at Forbidden Planet in July?
Yes.
Oh, then
yes.
I am so there. I miss you so much. I can't wait to see you.
I miss her too.
It's going to be so much fun. Yes, it will.
Yeah,
yes, it will.
Debbie, I haven't seen you in 6 years.
Come up to Forbidden Planet.
I'll come to.
It's a Wednesday, right?
The funny thing is, when
yeah,
Debbie,
that's right. Wednesday, July 13th. Of course, it's a Wednesday, not a Friday, but it's the 13th.
Right,
okay.
And Phil will come, and he will buy a copy of Model Hunger for everybody he knows.
Which is a lot of
Yeah, good. Really, Phil?
Well, I live in Fairfield, Connecticut, so I can afford it, definitely.
But, well, there you go.
Debbie,
perfect.
Yeah,
we need a whole bunch of you.
Yeah. Debbie, when I last saw you 6 years ago, we were working on Rudyard Kipling's Mark of the Beast, and during that time I had asked you if you had considered directing, And when Model Hunger came out, at first I said to myself, aha, Debbie listened to me. But it turned out apparently a lot of people over the years have been asking you to direct the film. Why did you decide to do this particular project at this particular time?
Well, it's a really good question, Phil, because there had been many times where people had said, hey, I have this script, and you could be in it too, and you could direct it, and it's about this killer kills all these babes, and not a comedy or anything, just straight type of movie, and I just thought to myself, well, first of all, I would never dream to be in the first movie that I direct. That's just me. Many people are. That's to each his own, and that's great. But I just thought, I knew that someone who really, at least were attempting to do something extremely special, that would be a really, really hard thing to pull off. Unless it was like, like my Rocky I had written for myself, and you know what I mean, it was a type of thing. But that wasn't the case. It was James Morgart, who I'd done his first movie, Wonton Baby, with him. And so he just sent it over, and he said, read this. And I had no idea why. I didn't know if he was going to do it. Maybe he was looking for actors. I had no idea. He just said, read it. And I read it, and I thought, this is incredible. Like, holy shit. Oh my God. What the things that this has to say, and the things that one could bring to the table as well and say themselves with this material is just insane. This is so much fun. It's so good. It's so meaningful. It's so deep, and it's so funny, like darkly. And so then when he said, well, do you want to direct it? I just said, yeah, I do. I mean, it was the material. It had to be the material. It couldn't be a really, soggy TNA ridiculous fest like, say, one of the first things many, moons ago I was offered. And a lot of the things since then, it's just nothing against any genre. Every genre kind of serves itself and its own people that like it. So that's it. But for me, it had to be, because I know after doing a number of films that you must live with a movie, not just forever as, a physical medium, but also as a director, you are living through the pre-production, the shooting, the post, and then finally, when it comes out, pretty much, I mean, people, you really hope and pray, that the people will love everybody in the movie, love the person who wrote it, and just, heap praise on these people. But the most important thing is, if there's any shots to be taken, you are going to be the one to take them. And it has to be something that was really worth it, because especially in this day and age, well, trust me, not everybody's going to like this movie, but it is going to find its audience at the same time. It really is. And so, I kind of, I had to feel that strongly to go to bat for something, and this was the material. This was the one.
Well, Debbie, you and Carmen are also in a film together, though you don't have a scenes together, that's just came out, called VHS Massacre, directed by a mutual friend of ours, Tom Seymour, which looks at the rise and fall of the VHS video. For you, Debbie, and for you, Carmen, what are your feelings of the films of the 80s, the cult films, the horror films, the comedy films like Galactic Gigolo, that were being made then, also the classic trauma films, versus what's being put out today? Are you nostalgic for the old days, or do you think today is just as good as the past?
Well, quite honestly, Phil, excuse me, both. I think, there's a magic to the movies being made then, because you just came out of the 70s, which were the, the penultimate for the independent film. I mean, the independent film really did whatever the hell it wanted to. I mean, Midnight Cowboy getting an X, I mean, that was kind of ridiculous. But just the fact that they made that movie and all of these slices of life films, and then into the 80s, which kind of, took on more of an environmental angle. At least that's when I talk about, like, the Northeast. I tend to feel that, generally speaking, a lot of them would have a little bit more to do with, environmental stuff, be it in the most ridiculous fashion or in a little bit more serious fashion, and still to date. I mean, if you look at the films of Larry Fessenden and, Wendigo and films like this, you still see that happening, a little bit more interest in, dare I say, political things, because, it could be handled in very, very silly ways and very fun ways too, not just serious. But, I think they both have something to offer. I think, it's not even that the films being made that are that much worse or better. I think it's just a matter of the volume of them is so much greater now, and the change of, the whole physical media leaving us very soon, very quickly, and permanently. That just the fact that Model Hunger comes out physically is kind of amazing right now. Like, this is how close we are to going to just streaming. So I think that is something that is the most surprising to me.
What about you, Carmine? What do you think?
Well,
pardon me?
No, by Carmine.
Oh, Carmine, yeah.
Yeah, well, being part of it in the 80s, I mean, Debbie was just a little girl when I was doing the movies. And,
too kind, Carmine.
Okay, well, that's... So we did our first movie, Disconnected. We filmed it on 16, and thankfully we sold it. And then we raised some money to do Psychos in Love, and it turned out that there was such a hunger by these little minor studios that wanted product, because there weren't any digital movies coming out. So in order to make a movie, you had to raise some serious bucks, even if it was low budget, because our biggest cost was the film. So we did Psychos in Love, and Charlie Band bought it. And then he said, you know what, I love this film. I want you to do 4 more for us. And he said, come up with 10 different scenarios for films. So we came up with 10. We sent them to Charlie Band. He said, now I'm going to pick 4, and I want to see scripts. So he chose 4, and by the time we got the letter back that he chose 4, he had already commissioned posters for these 4 films, and they were in Variety the next week, and he was pre-selling them all over the world before we even had the script written. So they needed stuff quickly. Now there's such a glut, and it's to a certain degree, I think it's almost anyone who can afford to buy a video camera is a director, and some of them really aren't. And then there's Debbie Rochon, who just was in 200 movies. And she she blew the crap out of this movie, and she was just and so now there's people are going to want more Debbie Rochon stuff, and they're going to say, Debbie, you need to get Carmen in and stuff. So basically, that's the difference. Now there's so many, and thank God for streaming, because or else nobody would have it. I worked for Richard Griffin, and so did Debbie, and he's he's churning out movies like crazy too, but his are quality movies, and then there's other people who are just throwing out crap and just hoping that's getting out there.
You just said Debbie did 200. I was on the Internet Movie Database today, and I sort of counted close to 300. And I know that you've done movies, Debbie, that aren't on the IMDb. Just how many movies have you made?
The movie where she played Mulva, that counts as 5.
Yeah.
All right. Just
right, because it's volume 1 and 2 combined.
Yeah. That's right.
So, there you go.
How she remembers
Phil, that's tough, because I would have to say probably somewhere around 300, because some of them are not listed as movies, some of them are not listed whatsoever, some of them shouldn't be listed. You know how it goes, Carmine.
I do.
I mean, I say that with love. You go into anything hoping for the best and giving 150%, and you never know what's going to happen. And they like to not only take it out on the director, but they like to take it out on the actor too. So it's pretty amazing. But I mean, yeah, an awful lot. Like, you know, yeah, I'd say, have to say around 300. I mean, at least if I make another 10 more, I'll definitely be there.
Do you have a favorite out of the 300?
Oh, honestly, I couldn't say one. And the reason is because some are creatively more satisfying, and maybe they didn't come together as well, or some came together really well, and maybe I felt good about what I did in them, but the experience wasn't as good as, say, the other one. So it's for that reason, and not political ones, it's very hard to say one, because, you know, Nowhere Man is a movie that it was like tearing my heart out to make that movie.
Loved it.
And the other actor, Michael Roderick, and he literally, there's a scene in there, and it's not pretty, and it's not nice, and it's not meant to be. And there's a scene where right in the middle of having sex, and in this particular scene, you don't see anything. It's not about the nudity. You don't see any nudity. Right in the middle of a fight, you know how couples can have sex, but then it turns strangely into rape, like right in a couple of beats of the scene, and it gets really weird really fast and uncomfortable and really ugly. And it was intended that way, and it comes across. And I'll tell you something, Michael Roderick, for example, is one of those actors that just, you know, no matter what he does, he's just ridiculously good, one of these guys. Me, I had to work a hell of a lot harder to be good. He's just one of these that has that magic touch, you know. God touched him on the head and said, you know, behold, you are an actor, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And he was having a really hard time. And he was one of the producers of the movie, too. And so he was well aware of the script. But he, you know, even said to the director, you know, do we have to do this? Not me, the female. He was, you know, because he had to, like, end up raping my character, his character. So he had to have, like, a beer, maybe 2 beers. And, you know, this is not an actor that would ever do something like that before performing, but under the circumstances. So, I mean, it was really intense. So for this reason, that's up there. It's probably, in experiences, probably in the top 5 for sure.
What projects are both of you currently working on that should be coming out later this year or perhaps into next year? We'll start with you, Carmen.
I just finished 7 Norms of Death with Richard Griffin, and I got to see a finished, and it's hysterically funny. It's one of his best comedies, and it's so bizarre. I think in a couple of weeks I'm going to shoot something with James Balsamo, and I'm embarrassed because I can't remember the title, but I think it's Killer Waves. And then I'm doing a bunch of conventions this year, and I'm so excited to go to Forbidden Planet and see Debbie and Susie, and hopefully James will be there. And just these are people that, and I thank you, Debbie, for allowing me to be in this movie. But these are people that I instantly fell in love with, and it's just, this will be the highlight of my life, and I don't think anything will ever top that.
And Debbie, what projects outside of Model Hunger are you working on?
Well, you know, I can't say anything after that because getting to work with my hero, Gigi, and I'm not even saying it that he's older than me because I don't know that he is. I say my hero because I've been a fan forever. Seriously, Model Hunger coming out, this is, like I've said before, you know, directorial debut and all. This has been something that I've been working and slaving towards, so to speak, in the most loving way possible for the past years since we shot it. And so, yeah, Wednesday, July 13th, Carmine Capobianco, who, by the way, Forbidden Planet is excited to have him there. When I mentioned to them, you know, us doing a signing, is Carmine coming? So, you know, I'm lucky he said yes. Voltaire's going to be there.
Oh, cool.
James Morgart,
excellent,
who's the writer and the producer.
Susie?
I have to think, well, Voltaire.
Susie
Lorraine. Mary Bogle.
Oh, really? Mary's coming in?
Yep. Isn't that incredible?
That is.
Possibly Bob Bozek, I'm not entirely sure.
Cool.
Possibly Michael Thurber.
Wow. How about Greg? Is Greg
David
coming down?
Morancic.
David's going to be there?
Myself.
Oh, man. David. Do you know David?
I don't know. The film itself, Model Hunger, this is going to be released. Is it Wild Eye Releasing doing the DVD?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It is, yeah. Wild Eye releasing July 12th, just the day before. So this is the day after. And then it's actually going to have a signing in the following Saturday, July 16th, on the West Coast at Dark Delicacies with the West Coast cast. So...
Debbie, have you ever done work for the Hollywood studios? Have you strictly been independent cinema?
Strictly independent. I have done some TV. I've done a couple of TV movies. I just recently signed with an agent that is based in LA, so I do a lot of stuff. Obviously not in person, but on camera. But it's a brand new situation that I'm in. But I felt like it's not that I don't love the independent films, and I will, certainly continue to do them. But, I felt like, wow, that there's some really, really amazing, well-written stuff on TV right now. And that never used to be the case. I mean, that's like another thing that's completely changed. So I just really wanted very, very much to get involved with that stuff as well. So... So, yeah, here's to the future.
Indeed. Okay, so July 12th from Wild Eye Releasing. Look for Model Hunger DVD, I assume Blu-ray as well. And will this also be on Netflix and Amazon and the whole 9 yards for the streaming?
Well, definitely Amazon Prime. I hope Netflix. I imagine it's one of those things that if you put it in your queue, that if they have enough requests for it, they will actually stream it. So I'm kind of guessing at that. So, yeah, go ahead. Tell them you want it. Tell everybody. Tell everybody you want it.
We want it.
And we want it.
Is Galactic Gigolo on Netflix and Amazon Prime?
It's not streaming. You can get Galactic Gigolo, Cycles in Love, and a lot of other crap I was in from Netflix. But, yeah. Yeah, and hopefully Model Hunger, because Model Hunger, like I said, is just a great movie. It was one of the few movies that I was in that I watched from start to finish, and I don't usually do that, and it scared the hell out of me. And I knew everybody was in it, but Lynn Lowry was just like, she's like the new, Jason. She was just a great,
yes, yes.
She was scary. She was scary.
And also, I think the two of you are in VHS Massacre, which is online. I think Trauma has their own streaming.
Trauma has that, yeah.
And it's on.
That's right. Yeah, Trauma picked that up, which was pretty apropos, I think.
Indeed, and that's streaming now. I don't recall the name of their channel, but I'm sure if you just go to the Trauma side, you'll be able to find it. I know it's going to be on DVD and Blu-ray coming in June.
Cool. Is
wow.
Model Hunger going to be on Blu-ray?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I believe see, everything's about numbers and seeing how the physical medium does here. So it's definitely DVD. In the fall, we're going to do a special VHS, very limited edition with,
cool.
There was a sort of a painting of Lynn's face that wasn't the official cover. It was sort of a mock-up of the cover.
Saw that.
That's
going
to be like the VHS cover in the fall. So we have that going on. And, it's all about numbers. If it does well, I have no doubt that it will turn to Blu-ray, but for
it's
the
going to
initial
blow
release,
the roof
we're
off,
DVD.
Debbie. It's going to blow the roof off the video business. It's going to be incredible, and also
it's going to blow it wide open.
Wide open, baby. If anybody wants to see a very rare video of the only scene between Debbie Rochon and Carmen Capobianco, go to my Facebook page and you can watch that. It's a very rare video.
Excellent.
Okay.
Well, looking forward to that.
I have to go there now.
You don't remember filming it with me?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
But I have to go there now and watch it. So, CarmenCapobianco.com?
No, Facebook. I'm Facebook.
Oh, okay.
But there is CarmenCapobianco.com. You can go there, and I'll put it there if you can't get on Facebook. I miss you on Facebook. I miss seeing your comments every day, but I understand why you're not on there. So.
Well,
I know. Phil, I have one of those like pages because I had 3 regular pages and they all got filled up, and I thought I'm not running 150 different pages. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Who has the time to do that? Just get one that everybody can go to, but then it turns out that you can't interact with regular pages, so to speak.
So to speak.
So there you go, Phil. I mean, what's up with that?
Well,
Come on, Zuckerberg.
Yeah. Well, Debbie, our time is unfortunately coming to a close.
No.
Thank you. Yes. Well, we'll have you back maybe when you're on Blu-ray. Definitely. Let's make a promise for that.
One of my movies finally did go to
Yes,
Blu-ray.
thank you so much for
Excellent.
having us on, Phil. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie, and I hope to see you again. It's been too long, and thanks for calling.
Yes, Forbidden Planet.
Yes, I can't wait. I can't wait to see it, Deb. Really
Okay.
soon.
Take
Me
care.
too. Thank you.
Okay. Good night, Debbie.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And
Bye-bye.
Our time is coming short, so Carmen, thank you for coming into our studio.
It was totally my pleasure, Phil. It truly
sharing
was.
your films, Model Hunger, VHS Massacre, and of course the classics that you've been in.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully you'll listen in for our show next week, because on the Online Movie Show for next Monday at 7 p.m. we're going to have another icon from the underground movie scene. I don't know if you know Michael Legge out of Massachusetts. He's made a bunch of very idiosyncratic comedy films, Working Stiffs, Loons, Honey Glaze, My Mouth Lies Screaming. You're looking at me like...
No, sure.
Yeah,
sure I know him, of course.
Well, you're gonna if you don't know his work, you're going to learn about it. He's really he's one of the most inventive and original talents.
And the
as
next
well.
time you have Manjol on, I want to be on.
Mike Monschel, definitely. Also on next week's show, we're going to have a woman named Erica Jordan. She's a filmmaker out of San Francisco. And the reason we have movies on the internet is because of Erica Jordan and me. And there's a story behind that. And you tune in next week to PPRN Radio, and you'll listen and you'll learn how Erica and I brought movies to the internet.
And you're not going to push your book tonight? I want to hear about your book.
That's In Search of Lost Films. That comes out in August. So there's a little time for that. Oh, a little bit early on the music. But stay tuned here on PPRN at 8 p.m. We're going to be having Undiscovered, which is the best of under-the-radar music talent. Other stations are listening to Undiscovered, and they're helping themselves to some of the talent that we've been broadcasting. And hey, that's good. Get the music out there. Let people know that there is something beyond the Hollywood labels and studios and whatnot. There's a lot of great talents here in the state of Connecticut. And
thank you so much for having me, Phil. I love
Thank you,
being here.
Carmen. Thank you. And tune in also tomorrow on PPRN Radio at 7 p.m. Eastern. Peter Pinho's talk show is going to be on the air. His guests are the band OK and the Night Crew and the wonderfully talented comic Alison Sarstai. I'm Phil Hall. This is the Online Movie Show. We'll see you next week, and thanks for listening.
You going to have Tommy on at all?